The pen scratches rhythmically against the paper as Suwon dives into his black and white comic world, shutting out the noise of reality. The streets of 2006 bustle with noise as friends bicker endlessly about the upcoming uniform crackdown, the air thick with youthful restlessness. The new semester at Sanji High glares under the sun, the air suffocatingly thick with tension over the strict hair regulations. Thuds and screams echo in the hall, but Suwon keeps his head down, wearing apathy as armor in this dog-eat-dog world. The classroom is a chaotic mess of boasting and jeering, the noise level assaulting the senses like a wild zoo. Pain explodes suddenly. Suwon clutches his head, seeing stars from Jinsu's brutally heavy-handed act of friendship. Facing the roar, Jinsu doesn't flinch. Instead, he adjusts his red frames with a provocative smirk, igniting the fuse of confrontation. Amidst the cafeteria clatter, Suwon probes into Insip's love life, the conversation shifting to a blush-inducing candlelight confession. Mentioning that romantic night, Insip turns crimson, his mind drifting back to that decisive moment amidst his friends' teasing. Memories rewind to innocent elementary days, the first time he shakily wrote Harang's name, his hand trembling with emotion. She used to smile so brightly. A joking "he's my boyfriend" was enough to make his young heart race to the point of suffocation. This secret crush burns like a dying candle. Unable to delay any longer, he stares at the flickering flame and decides to risk it all. At the end of a path paved with candlelight, he trembling hands over the letter holding his heart, the moment feeling dreamlike and surreal. Under the purple night sky, she accepts the flowers with a shy nod, two young hearts intertwining in Insip's perfect ending. But for Suwon, memory is cruel. His own clumsy letter earned him nothing but ruthless mockery and shredded dignity. Every word he had agonized over was just a joke to others, the heavy weight of failure forcing his head down in shame. Suddenly, a voice drops that named him Harang. Suwon's pupils constrict, cold sweat instantly drenching his back. Amidst the chatter about social media, he keeps his head down like a ghost, slipping unnoticed into the computer lab. The screen lights up, shattering his fantasy. A photo of her in another's arms stings his eyes, cold sweat instantly soaking his back as he struggles to breathe. The mouse creaks under his grip as the words, "I love you," pierce his heart like a blade, tears finally breaking free to blur her happy smile. "I should have known." He buries his face in his hands, yet a ridiculous voice echoes in his mind, urging him to make a last-ditch effort to deny this cruel reality. Jealousy spreads like wildfire. What's so good about him? Blinded by rage, he swings his fist, wanting to smash this injustice to pieces. His fist slams onto the desk, accompanying a gut-wrenching scream as he vows in despair, never to touch this damn thing called love again. The teacher's scolding and a girl's sobbing reach his ears, but he passes coldly, deaf to the chaos, left only with a rebellious desire to close himself off. Angry curses from the girls drift behind him, but he only sees his own cold stare in the window reflection, as if the whole world is full of betrayal and malice. The tearful girl points in his direction, her desperate gaze sending a shiver through him. For a split second, he feels an inexplicable shame and wavering. The air seems to freeze as they pass. He involuntarily glances back, his gaze colliding with her stubborn yet sorrowful figure, his heart skipping a beat. His body reacts faster than his mind. Driven by an inexplicable impulse, he tosses his vow aside and suddenly breaks into a run towards her. The world slows down into a pink hue. All he hears is his pounding heart and footsteps, each step closing the gap to the unknown, the tension suffocating. Time passes. Seeing his friend asleep, he intends to wake him gently, only for the guy to bolt up, eyes flashing with a chilling affection. To shake off the chaotic emotions, he grips the microphone, turning all his pain into a roar, staging a hysterical one-man concert in the karaoke room. He claims he's over his old love, yet tears stream down his face. His gut-wrenching singing only earns mockery from friends and a ruthless low score. Unlucky in love, he turns to games. He mashes buttons frantically at the arcade, screaming at his friend, trying to fill the void with noise. After the noise comes the park's quiet, and the topic shifts to courage. Facing his friend's teasing, he sweats profusely while making excuses to hide his cowardice. Is it just one-sided? The question pops the balloon like a needle. They sit side by side, weighed down by heavy reality, left with only a helpless sigh. Watching his friend act cool by badmouthing them to his girlfriend, Suwon stands alone in the void. A wave of shame washes over him. What am I even doing here? He tries to find balance by dissecting his friend's flaws. The wannabe player is single, and the cold one only loves himself. Yet, this comparison only leaves a more bitter taste. Beneath a calm exterior, an internal war rages. Watching the scene unfold, an uncontrollable violent impulse flashes through his mind, his fist itching to strike. The next day at lunch, a piercing roar shatters the campus peace. A violent hair check ambush catches everyone off guard, filling the air with fear and rage. To get her phone back, Hiram was forced to cut her hair. Yet, seeing the bully continue his violence, she stares coldly at her tray, appetite gone, eyes filled with disgust. In a corner of the cafeteria, boys mock the incident. Facing jokes about getting dumped for cutting hair, Jinsu snaps back defensively, forcing down tasteless food while feigning calm. Watching her laugh unreservedly and spit out food, Suwon's world stands still. His heart pounds deafeningly. In this moment, she looks more dazzling than ever. Meanwhile, a boy in red at the next table notices the commotion. Seeing Hiram with another group, he pushes up his glasses, a flash of malicious jealousy in his eyes. Jealousy turns into provocation. He deliberately bumps into Jinsu, who is eating, and rudely commands, "Move it." The atmosphere instantly freezes. Without warning, a roar explodes with a wind of a punch. Facing the sudden attack, Jinsu's eyes turn ferocious as he instinctively launches a brutal counterattack. The violence ends in screams as the instigator begs for mercy. But the rage in Jinsu's eyes remains unquenched. He looks down coldly at his defeated opponent, mercilessly rejecting the apology. The cafeteria chaos echoes in his mind as the scene shifts to Suwon brushing his teeth alone in the restroom. He rinses vigorously and spits hard, trying to expel the violence he just witnessed. Back home, exhausted, he brushes off his parents' concern, wanting only to escape into sleep. His perceptive parents exchange a worried glance, sensing something is wrong with their son. In the dim room, Suwon lies down, turning his back on the world. The red notebook rests silently on the nightstand, seeming to hold all his unspeakable secrets and repressed feelings. Dreams intertwine with reality as Hiram's melancholic gaze and his friend's smile surface in his mind. Will these stories, hidden beneath his brushstrokes, ever reach her? The night swallows the city, along with my meager courage. In this vast world, does she even know I exist? The air in the classroom freezes as the teacher's rage descends. Watching my friend on his knees, a suffocating pressure grips my throat. The dull thud of impact pierces my ears as violence unfolds. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the tension, calling out like a lifeline. Facing unreasonable demands, I comply outwardly while a cold sneer forms inside. Watching him struggle in my trap brings a twisted sense of satisfaction. My thoughts drift until my gaze lands on the hallway. She's fixing her hair, and that casual moment of self-deprecation instantly strikes my heart. She's always surrounded by people. Even that rough guy gets to joke with her. That dazzling light and the chaos around her sting my eyes. The bad boy, the funny one, the handsome one. Listing everyone around her, I despairingly realize there's absolutely no room for me. You don't deserve her. Old friends' words saw into my pride like a dull knife. Their mockery ruthlessly exposes the insecurity I tried to hide. Even my proud code becomes a joke. Their scrutinizing gazes feel like searchlights, leaving me nowhere to hide as I awkwardly accept their judgment. Watching his confidence showing off new shoes, then looking at myself. Am I really that pathetic? My friend's comfort feels so pale and hollow. I nod along, but the shadow in my heart refuses to lift, only growing heavier. In the silence of night study, only the scratching of the pen remains. I try to draw, but even the pen seems to mock my clumsiness. Where did that blind confidence go? Remembering that dazzling girl from my past, I realize how dim I truly am. How could I ever be seen? Can't sing. Not funny is my only talent for drawing, good for nothing but homework. Rage and despair collide as I tear the paper to shreds. After the outburst, silence returns. I pick up the pen again. This time, I'm drawing only for myself, drawing the one I desire. As the red ink spreads, my heart calms. Liking someone is free, a humble right that no one can take away. On paper, her eyes sparkle, breathtakingly beautiful. Under that mesmerizing gaze, exhaustion washes over me like a tide, blurring my consciousness. Drifting between sleep and dreams, I imagine showing her the drawing someday. But then, whispers that shouldn't be there creep into my ears. Is that Seal Hiram? The teasing voice strikes like thunder. I wake with a jolt, heart pounding, my deepest secret exposed. Chaos erupts in the classroom as Jinsu snatches the sketchbook with a maniacal laugh, leaving Suwon grasping at empty air in panic. Jinsu dashes through the hallway screaming her name, while Suwon chases closely behind, his face twisted in desperate terror. As night falls, the corridor air stiffens. Hiram turns from the window, casting a heavy, oppressive silence over the scene. Facing Hiram's piercing glare, Suwon's heart skips a beat, paralyzed by the suffocating feeling of being caught red-handed. Suwon hangs his head in shame, muttering an apology, while a classmate's clumsy defense only thickens the awkward tension. Whispers sting like needles as Hiram's fury ignites. Her accusations fire rapidly, shattering Suwon's dignity. Seeing the situation spiral, Jinsu doesn't back down, but roars back in frustration, instantly escalating the confrontation. With a sharp tearing sound, the drawing is shredded. Hiram coldly orders them to leave, ending the farce abruptly. The ruined sketchbook lies lonely on the floor as Jinsu storms off, leaving Hiram calling out in vain in the dim stairwell. Outside, Jinsu tries to mask his unease with jokes, but his forced composure only makes his retreat look more pathetic. His friend's questioning pierces the facade. Jinsu finally drops his guard, admitting his recklessness was just a clumsy attempt to defend his friend. Persuaded by his friend, the aggression fades from Jinsu's eyes. He sighs, reluctantly deciding to take responsibility. He chases her down the street, shouting her name despite the stares, breathless as he offers a belated apology to Hiram. Hiram softens, and Jinsu, eager to please, even offers to dance. The ice between them melts away in shared laughter. While the storm passes here, Jinsu realizes his immaturity. Meanwhile, Suwon has vanished, leaving his friends deeply worried. Friends track him to the classroom and gasp at the sight. Suwon sits slumped in the dark, looking like a living corpse. No matter how they prod, the socially dead Suwon remains unresponsive. Friends exchange glances, confused by his utter collapse. Rumors are already brewing in the shadows. Seeing the broken Suwon, his friends anxiously plot damage control to save the precarious situation. Casual chatter freezes instantly as familiar, terrifying voices drift down the hallway at them. Huddled in the corner, holding their breath, they listen to the girls discuss sweet anniversary gifts, every laugh dancing on their frayed nerves. Struggling for a gift idea, a spark hits Irina. She remembers the guy who drew Hiram, a perfect, desperate lifeline. Target acquired. With determined resolve, Irina marches straight toward the classroom, hunting for her artist. Inside, fingers drum a nervous rhythm against the desk. Tap, tap, tap. Suwon oblivious that he's already been marked. The sketchbook flips open, drawing gasps of admiration, yet behind the praise lies a silent judgment of his future. Park Dong spirals into despair, thinking his social life is over, until Irina appears, shattering the gloom with a confusingly cheerful smile. Irina leans in with a sheepish smile, hands clasped, pleading with innocent eyes that make it impossible for Suwon to refuse. Though he accepts, a flame of rebellion ignites. Suwon grips his pen, deciding to vent his frustration through the drawing. Unexpectedly, his scribbled act of rebellion is a masterpiece to Irina. her eyes lighting up with undeniable delight. Snacks pile up, but the real prize is the promise I'll put in a good word with Hiram. It strikes straight at Suwon's heart. As she leaves, the high fades. Suwon sinks back into deep self-doubt. Will this really change anything? His friend's teasing pricks his fantasy like a needle, and before he can retort, the teacher's roar drags them back to harsh reality. A 1% chance. The brutal truth hangs in the air, instantly punctuated by a textbook slamming into their heads, a double blow. Back to Irina, she gazes at the drawing with pure adoration, her genuine emotion making Suwon want to hide his blushing face. When she asks to post the art online, a conquered Suwon screams internally, "You are an angel. An absolute angel." But alone, the weight of her promise about Hiram settles in. Phone in hand, hesitation and guilt cloud her eyes. To mask her unease, Irina acts manic and clumsy, eventually ducking behind a desk like a fugitive hiding a secret. The secret spills out. Her friend spots the drawing, and jealousy erupts instantly. "Why did you get one first?" The classroom erupts into a battlefield, the air thick with insults and the clatter of desks, while onlookers watch with numb indifference. Violence escalates to terror until a striped figure cuts through the chaos, commanding silence with a voice that brooks no argument. A powerful kick tears the fighters apart. Kyoljia towers over them, eyes blazing with authority, questioning the very nature of their friendship. He forces a reconciliation, earning the crowd's awe, while Suwon watches from the sidelines, swallowing a bitter pill of powerlessness. Suwon's heart hammers against his ribs at the sight of Hiram, but his stammered greeting shatters against her icy, impenetrable stare. Lost in the sting of rejection, he is violently snapped back to reality by a rough shove that jars his shoulder. The air freezes as Kyoljia blocks the path of Choi Jinu, the school's strongest, igniting a tension so thick it suffocates the corridor. With a scoff, Jinu walks away, and the crowd parts like the Red Sea, shrinking back in instinctive fear of his overwhelming aura. Watching the terrifying back recede, Suwon feels not fear, but a twisted admiration bubbling up within him that is what true power looks like. Perspective shifts to Hiram, who feels her skin crawl. That boy's constant gaze isn't romantic, it's suffocating and utterly creepy. Barely suppressing her annoyance, Hiram is cornered by a friend's bubbly request, forcing her to feign interest in a celebration she couldn't care less about. She scrawls a generic message with a heavy sigh, her patience fraying thin as her friend complains about the lack of effort. Malicious compliance kicks in as she adds a playful death threat. Her friends laugh nervously, sensing the sharp edge beneath the ink. As her friend excitedly plans the layout, Hiram feels the walls of social expectation closing in, offering only a non-committal mumble in return. Escaping the exhausting social mask, she unlocks her front door, only to be greeted by the stench of stale alcohol and a chaotic mess. Waking amidst trash and passing out drunks, a curse escapes her lips, capturing the sheer exhaustion of living in this inescapable filth. She sits before the mirror, applying her armor for the day, her fingers lingering on an old photo, with a gaze heavy with unspoken regret. Saturday afternoon at Ono's place creates a sanctuary of sweat and laughter, a brief respite from the brutal hierarchy of school. While Suwon loses himself in his sketchbook, his friend shivers, recounting a terrifying attempt to approach Hiram and facing her hawk-like, piercing eyes. The pencil scratches rhythmically as Suwon tries to capture the suffocating pressure behind Hiram's sharp gaze. Words pierce like poisoned needles, ruthlessly tearing away his dignity and mocking his desperate desire for forgiveness. Anger explodes in his chest as he defends his art, only to be silenced by a sudden, violent death threat. Old grudges resurface, freezing the air instantly, as they taste the bitterness of a fractured friendship amidst awkward silence. Panic erupts instantly as the forbidden content on the tablet freezes the room, eyes wide with shock. The crisis dissolves into awe as his clever self-censorship turns their shock into unexpected admiration for his genius. But praise comes with a price. They bare their fangs, demanding dirty drawings, forcing Suwon to grit his teeth in resistance. Yet, when he reveals the subtle, metaphorical sketchbook, even the thugs are left speechless by his undeniable talent. Eyes lock, and a manic determination ignites. This unique talent is the weapon that will turn the tides. Meanwhile, Monday brings restlessness to the streets. Rebels would rather drop out than sacrifice their hair to strict school rules. A spark of words ignites the powder keg. A sharp slap echoes on the street, shattering pride instantly. In the stairwell shadows, cigarettes act as social currency, but fear of Jinu's authority still hangs heavy in the air. Terror shrinks the thug instantly at the mention of Jinu, prompting him to violently threaten his partner to ensure silence. Masking his fear, he lashes out at everyone, establishing a twisted hierarchy with sudden, brutal strikes against even his friends. Afterward, they frantically pop mints, trying to mask the evidence with casual acts that only highlight their desperate panic. But the disguise fails. The nightmare arrives in a purple jacket, his cold sneer shattering their luck instantly. The punishment begins a humiliation of body and soul as they are driven like cattle, despair dripping with their sweat. To escape the beating, friends turn on each other instantly, exposing the ugliness of human nature amidst the chaos. In the center of this farce, silence breaks. Rage hardens into a vow to stage his own ultimate counterattack. Awkward memories flood back in the dull classroom. Amidst the teacher's shrill yelling and sleeping classmates, Suwon feels suffocated, left with only silent cynicism. Mustering his courage, Suwon slides a red notebook toward the fierce-looking Jinsu, trembling as he suggests starting from the back. Jinsu frowns, impatience written all over his face. The casual flipping of pages suddenly turns frantic. Jinsu's eyes sharpen, hooked by the content, before he snaps the book shut and gazes out the window, wanting more. "Follow me!" Jinsu waves the notebook and calls Suwon to the window. In the sunlight, the usual bully reveals an unexpected smile of admiration. "Did you really draw this?" Suwon nods shyly at Jinsu's sincere request for the next chapter. Behind them, the guy with red glasses watches their close interaction, his eyes betraying a hint of jealousy and annoyance. Just as they discuss the plot behind the curtains, the red glasses guy bursts in, loudly accusing them of dating. The air freezes instantly, followed by awkward exclamations. The moment they are mocked as otakus, Jinsu actually steps up to defend them. Suwon's heart warms as he clutches the notebook, surprised that this rough friend is on his side. To diffuse the conflict, Suwon extends an olive branch, handing the notebook to the hostile guy in red glasses. He hesitates, takes it, and flips to the first page. His critical gaze is instantly captivated by the delicate emotions on the page. Staring at the lovers embracing in the drawing, his expression shifts from disdain to deep immersion. Suddenly, a hand violently grabs Suwon's arm. Suwon looks at the red glasses guy in terror, sweating profusely, bracing himself for a violent judgment. "You're a freaking genius!" Instead of a fist, ecstatic praise rains down. Suwon stands frozen, while the friend watching nearby cracks a knowing, cool smile. Hostility vanishes instantly as the three sit together, excitedly discussing the plot. Surrounded and validated by his new friends, Suwon feels an unprecedented sense of belonging. After the brief excitement comes the long, boring dusk. Standing in the hallway, the friends complain about the school's stifling rules, teenage restlessness brewing in the ennui. Just as they clamor about dropping out, an eerie silhouette quietly appears. With a spine-chilling smile, the dangerous, big shot whispers, "Want some stimulation?" The sense of crisis explodes instantly. Suwon frantically tries to hide the notebook, but the other's aggressive aura leaves him no escape. His secret is about to be forcibly exposed. Unexpectedly, instead of getting angry, they pass the notebook around with intrigue. Watching the intimidating delinquents huddle to read, Suwon's heart leaps into his throat. The protagonist in the manga, rebelling against authority and refusing to conform, seems to strike a chord with these rebels. Sincere praise echoes in the hallway. "He draws really well." Some are immersed, while others boredly suggest the cafeteria. Yet the story inside continues, a projection of Suwon's broken heart, a painful romance destined to end. Another confession, once warm embraces, all turn into shock and disbelief. The scene freezes at that dramatic turning point, just like Suwon's turbulent life right now. A gasp shatters the hallway silence. Boys huddle over the forbidden secret, eyes wide with shock, while Suwon smiles from the shadows, pulling the strings. The comic is a forbidden fruit, dangerous yet addictive. The disbelief in their eyes inflates Suwon's ego, controlling them from behind the scenes is an intoxicating rush. Praise floods in, and Jinsu's thumbs up offers fleeting confidence. But as the situation snowballs out of control, a seed of anxiety quietly takes root. Unprecedented attention makes him dizzy with delight. Yet, at the peak of euphoria, the shadow of the girls' class looms. Exposure there would mean a hell of contempt. Conscience manifests as a tiny figure, questioning his soul. Is cheap fame worth it? He tries to justify it, but the taste of popularity is too sweet to spit out. Just as anxiety nearly stops his pen, the air freezes. The emotionless school ruler, Choi Jinu, arrives with his crew, descending like a crushing invisible weight. The classroom falls deathly silent. The legendary Demon King is here personally for the comic. The surreal pressure forces Suwon to tread lightly, barely daring to breathe. Every eye in the class fixes on him like a spotlight. Jealousy, curiosity, scrutiny. The pressure is crushing. Suwon's heart thunders, his grip on the pen trembling. Time seems to stop. Every line he reveals carries immense risk. Cold sweat trickles down his face as he feels teetering on the edge of a cliff. In extreme tension, Jinu's hand reaches out. The moment of contact is suffocating. Is this Judgment Day? Or the prelude to punishment? A miracle happens. A smile breaks across the ice-cold face. A simple "it's good" shatters all fear, instantly launching Suwon to the peak of ecstasy. That validation acts like a stimulant, keeping him up all night. Even his mom's sudden check-in only adds a thrill of danger to his secret creative frenzy. The pen dances across the paper. Jinu's encouragement echoes in his ears. No longer the insecure boy, he is now a cartoonist chasing a dream. Just one "see you next time" fuels a manic drive. He screams a vow in his room, desperate to prove himself like never before in his life. But reality bites. The next morning, sharp abdominal pain forces him to seek refuge. The obscure fifth-floor faculty bathroom becomes his only lifeline. He opens the door not to peace, but to the stinging scent of smoke. 3 figures in the stall freeze, the air thick with awkward, deadly silence. Recognizing him, the terrified trio instantly shifts gears. It's Yang Jinsu and his cronies. Their fear morphs immediately into annoyed aggression. There's no camaraderie here, just undisguised contempt. Jinsu orders Suwon to be their lookout dog, shooing him away like a fly. Despite screaming no internally, Suwon's body betrays him under Jinsu's fierce glare. Fear, like invisible hands, chokes off any resistance. Forced to flee, the stinging sound of their mockery follows him. The shame of trampled dignity hurts more than his stomach as he swallows the bitter humiliation. Watching his once strongest friend being mocked, Suwon grits his teeth, filled with nostalgia for past glory and helplessness over the present. In his comic, however, the story is different. A powerful heroine emerges, crushing the arrogant thugs, venting the rage he cannot release in reality. The thrill of this fantasy spreads quickly. Students crowd the hallway to read it, praising Suwon's talent, giving him his first taste of recognition. Is this what fame feels like? Eating mocha bread with a trendy park dong, basking in attention, Suwon feels for the first time that school is actually fun. But reality strikes without warning. On the playground, Jinsu faces brutal corporal punishment for his hair, his dignity trampled, rage burning like wildfire. Violence escalates in plain sight. The teacher grabs his collar, the stick strikes, and Jinsu's agonized screams pierce the campus silence, suffocating everyone. The crowd's cold laughter hurts more than the blows. Under the teacher's threats, Jinsu becomes a laughingstock, the last light in his eyes seemingly extinguished. The oppression lingers until the lunch bell rings. The gloom is instantly forgotten as hungry students flood toward the cafeteria, as if nothing happened. Jin-soo excitedly invites his friend, only to be coldly rejected. Soo-won lies about meeting friends from another class, taking the first step in betraying old ties to fit in. Watching Soo-won leave, Jin-soo and the others exchange glances. The air fills with the awkwardness and anger of abandonment. That guy, eating alone without us. The phone vibrates, and a cold text severs the last connection. Eating with friends LOL. In that moment, an irreparable crack forms in their friendship. For this date, Soo-won sits alone in the cafeteria, fingers nervously tapping. He cares nothing for the pork cutlet, only for the person about to arrive. The moment he sees her, he waves, his smile stiff. Hiram approaches with her tray, seeming slightly surprised that he's already there. When Hiram actually sits down, her powerful aura makes Soo-won hold his breath. The goddess of his dreams is now terrifyingly close. Trembling, he thinks she's staring at him, cold sweat dripping. Turns out she's just complaining about apples and kimchi. His self-absorbed panic makes him feel even more pathetic. Hiram mentions posting his art online. Just as Soo-won feels a spark of joy, her next words strike like lightning. My boyfriend said thank you very much. Friends around him continue to praise his talent, predicting his future as a cartoonist. But Soo-won is frozen, the word boyfriend echoing endlessly in his mind. The massive psychological blow triggers a physical reaction. Soo-won clutches his chest, face pale. The tension and disappointment churn violently inside him. It wasn't a heart attack, but an uncontrollable stench sweeping the table. In front of his crush, he's not just heartbroken, but socially destroyed. The ridicule becomes the piercing footnote to this lunch. The tension of the cafeteria fades into the city night, leaving a lingering unease as the boys walk through the quiet streets. A friend's warning rings in his ears, but Soo-won, desperate to fit in, brushes off the advice with an awkward, naive smile. At the mention of free entry, a mix of longing and insecurity flashes in Soo-won's eyes. For him, Seoul is a tempting, unknown world. As old friends drift away with excuses, praise from the bad crowd feeds Soo-won's ego, creating a dangerously sweet illusion of acceptance. As the night deepens, reality fades, and their focus shifts from the streets to their private digital sanctuary, the world of social media. Alone in his dim room, bathed in the cold glow of the screen, he watches the vibrant celebration of others' love like a silent voyeur. Scrolls aimlessly until a familiar name catches his eye, sending a sudden, violent jolt through his calm heart. It's her! Seeing Seol Hiram's comment, Soo-won buries his face in his hands, flushing red, with a silent scream of overwhelming infatuation. With a heart pounding like a drum, his trembling fingers guide the mouse, inching nervously toward the gateway of her profile. Access denied? The screen mocks him. Meanwhile, across the city, Hiram faces her terrifying brother, putting on a brave face to ask for cash. Her brother smirks, his piercing gaze dripping with intimidation, clearly signaling, "Do you really think I don't know what you're up to?" The cigarette is crushed. The interrogation begins. Cornered by his sharp questions, Hiram weaves a lie, her voice laced with defensive panic. Reluctantly, he hands over the cash, a gesture that feels less like permission and more like a heavy, warning-laden trust. From the darkness comes a chilling decree: go with boys, and they're dead. Even the dog sighs at the suffocating weight of his protection. Collapsed on her bed, she vents to her friend, frustration boiling over. Why does simple fun feel like a crime in this house? At school, excitement battles with fear. The mere mention of her brother casts a shadow, striking genuine terror into the boys' hearts. On the phone, Hiram lists her brother's hypocrisies, bitter that the wild party animal is now trying to lock his sister in a cage. The call ends, and helplessness washes over her. On the morning of the long-awaited Sunday, her heart feels as heavy as a sinking island. Meanwhile, the boys are preening with excitement. Soo-won touches his awkward short hair, laughing off his nerves amidst his friends' teasing. Sunlight hits the brick wall as preparations begin. He cracks open the wax container, scoops a dollop, and vigorously rubs it between his palms, the sound of friction filling the air. Like casting a secret jutsu, hands fly wildly over his head. When he looks in the mirror, his eyes widen in shock. It actually worked. He can barely believe the transformation, while his friend throws in a ruthless tease. Next comes the battle of the outfits. His friend mercilessly roasts the outdated duffel coat, even bringing his luck with girls into it. Hit where it hurts, he turns beet red, clenching his fists and shouting to defend his shred of dignity. Jokes aside, his friend shifts tone, offering genuine advice. Dressing up isn't just for others, it's to feel good about yourself. The words sink in, and as he looks at the clothes scattered on the floor, his resistance begins to melt away. After all the fuss, the final look is ready. Staring at his transformed reflection, he feels like he's glowing. While they're both feeling pretty good about the makeover, to anyone else, the result is still a bit questionable. Meanwhile, at the meeting spot, Jin-young dangles her legs from a ledge, bored out of her mind. Spotting those two familiar yet dorky figures approaching, she sighs with mild annoyance and calls out to the latecomers. The girls gather, chatter naturally turning to hair and boyfriends. Rina excitedly suggests heading to the theme park, her face beaming. However, Jin-young's smile suddenly freezes. Sensing something off, she calls for a pause. Sure enough, the uninvited guest appears. Jin-soo strolls up with a cigarette in his mouth, acting like it's the most natural thing in the world. Everyone exchanges glances, shocked that he actually has the nerve to tag along, disrupting their plans. Jin-soo couldn't care less about potentially running into Hiram's terrifying brother. He's just bored. The group resigns to letting him join, while Rina can no longer contain her excitement about her first latte world trip, screaming in the street. What if it's too fun? The worry is as naive as it is funny. Meanwhile, the translator breaks the fourth wall, marking the start of this journey filled with unknowns and machine-translated chaos. At the bus stop, the fatigue of the early morning hits. The topic shifts to bungee jumping, and someone's already backing out, claiming their heart can't take it. They tease each other's courage, the air buzzing with youthful banter. Trying to prove he's not a kid, Jin-soo lights up another cigarette, using smoke to signal maturity. Ignoring his friend's eye rolls and protests, he nonchalantly blows smoke rings, his attempt at being deep only making him look more childish. Just as they're roasting Jin-soo for acting cool, the red 5600 bus arrives. But the moment the doors open, despair sets in. It's packed like a sardine can. Who knew a Sunday morning could turn into such a survival challenge? The bus is suffocating, and Rina is being crushed by the crowd. Just as she feels helpless, Jin-soo clumsily uses his body to block the shoving around them. She turns back warily, feeling both confused and awkward about this sudden protection. The cramped space forces them tightly together. Jin-soo is sweating buckets, claiming he's fine, but his heart is pounding out of his chest. He can't bring himself to meet her eyes, stealing panicked glances, his mind going blank from the proximity. This strange sensation awakens buried memories. He doesn't even know when he started caring about her, perhaps back in that middle school. His thoughts drift away from the crowded bus, returning to the innocent days of red school uniforms. That day, seeing Suwon sketch her outline in his notebook, a strange emotion erupted. He got even more worked up than the artist, his face turning purple. It wasn't just to tease his friend. It was driven by an unspeakable jealousy buried deep inside. The memory shifts to that dark night. He had screamed like a clown, only to be met with her icy stare. Her words cut like a knife. People like you disgust me the most. In that moment, he realized he wasn't even a rival to her, just a pathetic joke. Faced with her anger, he panicked. To salvage the situation, he tried the most pathetic tactic, even attempting a goofy dance to appease her. But it only made him look more pitiful. His clumsy attempt to mask his true feelings was ruthlessly torn apart. Back in the present, she actually smiled at him. He realizes he didn't confess not because of her gangster brother or his friend, but simply because of his own cowardice. Yet, looking around this crowded bus, he suddenly feels that today was totally worth it. Finally, in Seoul, the crowded bus was a nightmare. Despite the fatigue, looking at the skyscrapers offer the big city swells within. Fading cool on the outside, but buzzing with anticipation inside. The scream of coasters and the thrill of the drop are what we came for. However, the fantasy shatters instantly. Instead of a dream castle, a suffocating sea of people awaits, a giant question mark hanging awkwardly in the air. It's not even opening time, yet the crowd is out of control. In this hopeless gridlock, being short means the view is blocked, making even the entrance a distant dream. Anxiety spreads through the air, faces twisting into monstrous shapes in the crush. Forget the rides. Simply surviving the squeeze to get in feels uncertain. The mob ignores pleas, pushing madly. Cold sweat drips, as a desperate thought circles this whole trip is officially screwed. The crush ignites rage, shoving escalating into physical conflict. Curses and screams rise, turning the happy park into a violent battlefield instantly. Meanwhile, staring at the fake free entry promo, rage erupts. Ripping the poster in fury, the scattered debris accidentally strikes an innocent bystander. This attracts trouble. A blonde girl and her crew confront them angrily. Just as tensions peak, a wildly ill-timed drop of spit falls, lighting the fuse. Wrongfully accused, shouted at for spitting. Before any defense can be made, the disgust in her eyes freezes the atmosphere instantly. The commotion draws attention, and amidst the chaos, a familiar name rings out. Under the public gaze, an unbelievable reunion leaves everyone stunned. Rewinding slightly, facing this aggressive group of delinquents, the sudden interrogation catches them off guard, cold sweat soaking their backs instantly. Denying the head-hit accusation feels weak and frantic. The air freezes. Their icy silence is more oppressive than any scream. The lie is easily seen through, met with ruthless mockery. Under their scornful gaze, the shame of being weak forces heads to bow involuntarily. Yet they aren't united either. The blonde girl's whisper is like a devil's goad, forcing the glasses guy to play the villain. Forced into a corner, the glasses guy struggles internally. But under his crush's gaze, vanity overrides fear. He has to tough it out. Trembling, he points at the seemingly weakest target, using bravado-filled roars to mask his panic, trying to establish dominance in the chaos. Grabbing the collar, absurdly demanding money. Both are trembling, one from fear, the other from the sheer guilt of this ridiculous situation. The expected theme park trip turned into an extortion scene? In this moment of absurd despair, a familiar shout pierces the chaos. Ji-soo-won. Turning sharply, he sees not just a friend, but the figure that makes his heart stop. In that instant, Seol Hiram's radiance seems to illuminate the entire gray world. Paranoia grips Soo-won as he feels watched everywhere. While friends laugh it off, cold sweat runs down his face. Hiram is nearby, and he absolutely cannot afford to look like a fool right now. Stepping up, Yang Jin-soo confronts the extortionists not with fear, but with icy questions. Adjusting his red glasses, a smirk plays on his lips. He's already dissected their motives and found them wanting. Having mentally dissected his opponents as all bark and no bite, Jin-soo ignores his friend's warning. He stares them down, firing off a direct, provocative question to test their resolve. The verbal sparring escalates into petty insults about age. While Jin-soo holds his ground, Soo-won is internally screaming, terrified that this embarrassing spectacle is unfolding right in front of Hiram. Chaos erupts as accusations fly back and forth, thrown objects versus attempted extortion. Anger boils over as rational conversation drowns in a sea of shouting and defensive posturing. Ignoring threats of backup, Jin-soo's aggression spikes. He shoves aside a peacemaker and challenges the ringleader to a fistfight, his sheer intensity causing the bully's tough facade to crack with fear. Closing the distance aggressively, Jin-soo demands a fight right now. The black-haired boy freezes, sweat beading on his forehead, his cowardice exposed under Jin-soo's withering, predatory stare. Seeing his opponent hesitate, Jin-soo mocks him openly while on the phone, treating the threat as a joke. This humiliation ignites a spark of rage in the black-haired boy, his shock turning into a glare of pure fury. As the boys trade empty death threats, Hiram stands between them, arms crossed and eyes cold. She watches their pathetic display of machismo with utter disdain, unimpressed by their childish posturing. While the boys continue their standoff, the blonde girl desperately calls for backup, only to hit voicemail. The hollow display of toughness feels absurd to Soo-won, whose clenched fist hints at a much darker, more violent past. Witnessing violence that doesn't even reach elementary school levels, Hiram's patience snaps. Already irritated, she explodes in a fit of rage, screaming at the sheer stupidity and waste of time unfolding before her. The crowd freezes as Hiram takes charge, forcefully grabbing the girl's hand. With a piercing stare, she exposes the bluff instantly. There was no call for help. Her dominance silences the onlookers. Hiram mercilessly dismantles their extortion scheme, cornering the blonde girl. Ironically, amidst her fierce verbal assault, one of the bullies finds himself distracted, stunned by her beauty even as she tears them apart. "Touch me, and you're dead." Hiram's warning is delivered with a chilling smile. As she questions their school, whispers ripple through the crowd about her infamous older brother, injecting real fear into the atmosphere. Hiram shifts from threats to vicious mockery, targeting the blonde girl's age and terrible makeup. The insults land like physical blows, leaving the girl utterly humiliated and stripping away her last shreds of dignity. The tide turns completely as the crowd sides with Hiram. Laughter echoes at the makeup insults while others admire her boldness. The bullies are no longer predators. They are now the punchline of a public spectacle. Unable to bear the public humiliation, Yujin tries to retreat but is consumed by rage. Ignoring her friend's advice, she desperately dials again, shaking with fury, determined to summon her brother for revenge. Her call for help backfires spectacularly as Myung-soo Appa hangs up in annoyance. Caught in humiliating silence, Yujin freezes as Hiram delivers a final, icy command to get in line and stay out of sight. Hiram walks away victorious, flanked by her awestruck companions. Left behind in the crowd's gaze, Yujin finally breaks, tears of humiliation streaming down her face as the scene fades into an ominous black. The scene shifts to a chilling display of raw violence. Seo Min-soo, Hiram's infamous brother, sits amidst bloodied victims. Smoking casually while others beg for mercy, his cold stare promises a new level of danger. In the dark alley, the air reeks of blood. Seo Min-soo crouches coldly beside the beaten students, his eyes screaming a violent warning. At the alley entrance, Hiram witnesses the brutality and meets her brother's suffocating gaze, paralyzed by instant, chilling fear. The scene shifts to the bustling entrance of Late World, but beneath the flashy sign, the teenagers fume with frustration over being denied entry. Behind the noise, a sinister plan brews. A blonde boy smirks with arrogant satisfaction, seemingly finding the perfect chance to humiliate someone. His mind is consumed by the flames of revenge, replaying his humiliation, desperate to trample her dignity and unleash chaos. Unaware, Hiram complains to her friends about poser bullies, while nearby, young Jin-soo watches her silently, a trace of awe in his eyes. Jin-soo looks at the sky, a chill rising within him. Though they dragged everyone here for a cause, he has to admit, Hiram possesses a terrifying aura. Amidst the mutual mockery, news of the park opening arrives. Their initial bravado turns into hesitation and retreat at the last moment. Facing the surging crowd and his retreating friends, Soo-won unexpectedly insists, "Since we're here, let's at least take a look." Eventually, the friends unwilling to wave goodbye, leaving Soo-won standing there, unable to tear his eyes away from the increasingly chaotic crowd. Suddenly, the piercing sound of shattering glass tears through the noise. Security guards scream into their radios as the crowd spirals completely out of control. Order collapses as shoving turns into a stampede. Someone falls, groaning in pain, while warnings from the megaphone are drowned out by panicked screams. Charge! A roar ignites the fuse, and the crowd surges forward like a frenzied beast, reckless and unstoppable. The running crowd hits like a tsunami, Everyone is swept up by blind mob mentality, reason vanishing in an instant as danger closes in. Suwon and Hiram freeze, speechless with shock as they watch the wave of madness crashing toward them, fear gripping their hearts. In this critical moment, Hiram's gaze sharpens, keenly spotting the source of malice hidden within the chaos. Amid the chaos, a wicked hand shoves violently forward. The vengeful girl exploits the turmoil to inflict harm, the sound of the impact terrifyingly loud. What is that bastard doing? Jin-soo roars in fury witnessing this despicable act, but his voice is instantly swallowed by the escalating madness. Chaos erupts as the orderly line transforms into a battlefield. Amid screams, a rough hand shoves violently, igniting conflict with a piercing roar. Violence escalates rapidly as Jin-soo is choked, gasping in agony. The air freezes, bystanders' eyes widening in horror at the unfolding loss of control. Furious roars drown out the surrounding noise. Some mock, others tremble, the chaos of human reaction proving more unpredictable than the violence itself. Nearby, the brutality continues. Another girl is shoved down, while a witness kneels, pupils dilating in terror, a silent scream caught in her throat. Darkness falls, consciousness flickering through pain. Every second of waiting feels like a century, physical distress rising like a suffocating tide. Balance collapses completely, someone falls. Merciless footsteps rain down, pain erupting as he struggles desperately within the hellish stampede. A sickening crack echoes. Agony shreds his nerves, a blood-curdling scream piercing the air as Hiram curls up nearby, tears bursting forth. The disaster, sparked by the lure of free entry, hits the cold headlines. The Latte World festivity ends in a tragedy with over 20 injured. Silence reigns inside the ambulance, broken only by heavy breathing. Outside the high-rise, something metaphorical snaps, signaling a shift. Later, Jin-soo adjusts his glasses on the bus, masking fear with humor. He mocks his friend's fragility, trying to lighten the heavy atmosphere. Yet rage lingers. In the waiting room, Jin-soo vows revenge through gritted teeth, while Hiram snaps at him to shut up, eyes hiding deep worry. Finally, the hero appears. Suwon hobbles on crutches, greeted immediately by friends masking their concern with teasing banter. Facing the teasing, Suwon scratches his head, downplaying the pain. Hiram stands silently aside, a subtle blush creeping onto her cheeks. Alone, she snaps, "You idiot, why did you jump in?" Despite her harsh tone, he detects the underlying concern in her rebuke. Hiram lowers her head, fingers nervously touching her lips, a thank you stuck in her throat. Friends eavesdrop, giggling at her clumsy honesty. The atmosphere shifts. He compliments her hair extensions to break the ice. She pauses, the distance between them shrinking for a moment. Hearing the cast stays for 2 months, Hiram's eyes dim. Guilt weighs heavily. The cost of his protection is suddenly, painfully real. In the hall, classmates chant night. Hiram screams for silence, furious. Yet beneath the mask, she whispers internally, "That idiot, thank you." Tension thickens in the hallway as Hiram snaps back at a judgmental stare. On the sidelines, a pair of sharp eyes behind red-rimmed glasses watches the confrontation unfold in cold silence. Dinner is served with a side of scolding as mom berates the younger brother for his broken bone. Suwon eats in silence, a cold smirk playing on his lips as he whispers a violent suggestion to the injured boy. Their trash talk is cut short by a sudden jolt of agony. Suwon winces, clutching his bandaged leg as the physical pain drags him back to the harsh reality of his injury. Even though he never made it inside the park and ended up battered, a self-deprecating chuckle escapes him. Being her white knight came at a price, but perhaps it was worth the scars. Flashbacks flood in. He spread his arms, like a tragic hero shielding Hiram, convinced he looked cool. Yet, amidst the chaos, a cold, calculating gaze from the crowd had already locked onto him. Just as he feels a strange gratitude towards his tormentors, a sudden, maniacal burst of laughter shatters his introspection. His friend doubles over, finding the whole situation hilariously absurd. The gazebo erupts with laughter as the group roasts him about his heroic sacrifice. Teasing remarks about his unfortunate nickname, Yadong, float through the relaxed evening air. The jokes spiral as someone dramatically mimics his desperate cry to run. But Jinsu, patience-wearing Finn, snaps at them to stop obsessing over the loser, his tone dripping with irritation. The conversation shifts to karaoke, but when Suwon's crush on the school beauty is mentioned, a girl nearby stiffens. She lowers her head, a flicker of displeasure and complicated emotion crossing her face. Away from the laughter, a darker reality looms. Standing alone in a dim room, he is haunted by ghosts of the past, their terrified faces flickering like a nightmare he can't escape. Watching his lonely, crutched figure, she buries her face in her hands, frustrated that his pathetic face keeps haunting her thoughts. Meanwhile, the oblivious boys excitedly head for karaoke. She finally dials the number, her voice dripping with reluctance. On the other end, the frantic sounds of a fighting game echo, hinting that he's currently engaged in a brutal digital battle. The clicking of a keyboard is interrupted by a sharp vibration. Suwon jolts awake, exchanging a bewildered glance with his friend who would be calling him at this hour. He glances at the screen with suspicion, but his pupils dilate in shock. The text reads, "I'm Hiram," a simple message that sends a jolt of electricity through his veins, banishing all sleep. Collapsing back onto the bed, a goofy grin spreads across his face, whispering a quiet "nice" to himself. When the phone dings again, the vibration feels less like a disturbance and more like a promise. May arrives with a fresh breeze and the long-awaited school uniforms. Over open notebooks, students debate the manga's plot, eager for a storyline filled with wavering hearts and bold confessions. As their imaginations run wild with scandalous plot twists, hunger strikes. The conversation seamlessly shifts from fictional affairs to gossiping about a younger student's impressive abs priorities of teenage life. Park Dong has abs? The jokes land with heavy shoves and insults like freak and loser. Yet, since the amusement park incident, Suwon has drifted closer to this rougher crowd, fitting in through ridicule. Under Hiram's concerned gaze, he flushes, stammering that he's done with the crutches. His ankle still throbs, but he swallows the pain, desperate to look strong and healed in front of her. Teasing laughter echoes in the hallway, but Suwon's mind drifts back to that accidental moment. It's not like there was a spark. He denies the flutter in his heart, yet that text message remains branded in his memory. Cheeks burning, he hesitates at the vending machine, fingers hovering. This distance is enough, he tells himself, pressing the button, trying to cool his inner turmoil with the cold can. The heavy atmosphere shatters instantly as an exaggerated, goofy dance move strikes with a PA sound. The crisp tear of a burger wrapper signals the start of a uniquely adolescent moment of absurdity. Flavor explodes on his tongue, and all worries seem to vanish with each chew. Sitting on the bench with his friend, there is only pure appetite and afternoon laziness. However, his gaze involuntarily drifts to his friends. Why do their uniforms look so cool? The burger in Suwon's hand suddenly loses its appeal as a seed of envy quietly sprouts. The convenience store air feels colder. Jinsu's mockery hits like rapid fire. "You just look totally lame." The words strike like a slap, leaving Suwon flushing red with utter humiliation. His attempts to explain fade into a whisper. Suwon's clumsy admiration is met with a cold eye roll. In this trial of coolness, his self-esteem is casually trampled underfoot. Clutching the crumpled bills, Suwon calculates the cost of 15,000 won. In middle school, he never would have considered this, but now, his heavy steps march firmly toward change. Is it for Hiram? Or to be like them? In the hallway, Suwon questions himself repeatedly. Whatever the answer, the desperate desire for transformation has overwhelmed everything else. In the classroom, he blushes while borrowing money. Right next to him, Hiram sleeps on her desk, deepening his shame, terrified the girl he likes might wake up to witness this embarrassment. Suwon's really grown up. Classmates chuckle as they hand over the cash, teasing him. He forces a smile amidst the laughter, trapped in a web of embarrassment and vanity. His ears prick up at the name Yang Jinsu. So they go there too. Suwon's gaze sharpens instantly, as if he's grasped a key thread leading into that circle. Meanwhile, in another corner of the classroom, old friends watch with gloomy eyes. Why is he hanging out with them lately? Jealousy and a sense of betrayal ferment in the air. Conflict finally erupts. Faced with his old friend's forceful blocking, Suwon is torn. Then just go with them. An angry outburst tears apart the already fragile line of friendship. Screw off. Suwon turns his back, his voice trembling but decisive. Long suppressed resentment turns into cold rejection. He refuses to be controlled any longer. Inseep closes in, eyes sharp as knives. You've been stuck to them like glue lately, and I'm not cool with it. This toxic possessiveness suffocates Suwon. He clenches his jaw, refusing to yield. Why do you hate them so much? Inseep's voice turns cold, as if digging for a secret. The floodgates of memory creak open, and the fear from that dim room rushes back. Back then, Inseep cruelly rips off the scab. If it were a fight, you would have run, right? He brings up the ruined drawing, attempting to shackle Suwon once again with guilt. Suwon freezes, stunned that he still remembers. Blushing, Jinsu looks away with a huff, awkwardly admitting his fault as the tension melts into relief. Ignoring the tailor's concern, Park Dong coolly insists. Watching his intense focus, Suwon marvels internally this guy treats uniform alteration like a life-or-death mission. Seeing Park Dong's proud smirk, warmth fills Suwon. Perhaps everyone misunderstood this thug underneath the tough exterior. He's been quietly looking out for him all along. If only he'd stopped spitting everywhere. Just then, Jinsu casually bums a cigarette, their easy banter revealing a bond that Suwon is only beginning to understand. As smoke curls up, Suwon stumbles back in panic, heart racing. Here? What if we get caught? Ignoring his fear, the two exhale calmly, worlds apart from his anxiety. What's he scared of? Amidst the mockery, a hand offering a cigarette extends. Park Dong smirks, pressing closer with tempting words. Try it, it won't kill you. Darkness closes in. Taunts and coaxing swirl around him, as Suwon stares fixedly at the glowing ember. Sweat drips, the fire reflecting in his trembling eyes, marking a moment of frozen, agonizing choice. Faces of his parents and friends flash through his mind, shattering the confusion. Snapping out of the trance, he finds his voice amidst the haze. No, I'm not doing it. What a loser. Their mockery stabs him like knives as he walks away. Alone on the street, Suwon grinds his teeth, drowning in self-doubt. Does having principles make me a failure? Back at the shop, the altered uniform hugs his frame. The tightness feels surprisingly right. Looking at his transformed reflection, a shy flush of joy spreads across his face. I look sharper. The slight discomfort brings a strange sense of power. Just by altering his uniform, he feels reborn, tough enough that even his friends' teasing sounds like approval. Definitely better. Hearing the approval, Suwon can't hide his grin, heart pounding. Armor upgraded, he finally feels ready to step out and face this wild world. On the way home, Suwon hesitates at the invitation. His phone buzzes a text from old friends causing him to instinctively pull away, lying about plans while hiding the conflict in his eyes. The topic shifts to Seol Hiram, and Suwon, the teased White Knight, turns beet red. I just drew her because she's pretty, he stammers, his clumsy honesty sparking laughter. As laughter fades, Suwon's heart sinks. It was a fleeting crush, but reality is cruel. I know my place. His painful self-awareness leaves Jinsu staring in stunned silence. Cut the crap and come with us. Jinsu suddenly breaks the barrier with a genuine invitation. Suwon freezes, the phone heavy in his hand, torn between the summons of old friends and this new olive branch. Curiosity wins over fear. Just for a bit, he tells himself. Yet, dread drips like cold sweat as he imagines the terrifying fun these delinquents might be into. The door opens to a wall of smoke and alcohol fumes. In the dim light, kids his age are drinking and smoking recklessly. The scene hits Suwon like a physical blow, shattering his innocence. The nauseating stench triggers memories of his father's drunken nights. He expected video games, but walked into a den of adult-like vice. Frozen, Suwon feels his stomach churn in disgust. The TV blares amidst a haze of smoke. In this unsupervised sanctuary, teenagers flaunt alcohol bought without ID, wearing their rebellion like a badge of honor. Suwon sits frozen in the corner, alienated. Watching a middle school girl exhale smoke like a pro, he feels a violent culture shock, as if he stumbled into a living list of taboos. The stench of smoke on his clothes fills him with regret. Listening to them discuss lax school rules, a mix of indie for their cool world and inferiority tangles in Suwon's chest. The conversation turns dark, drifting to Cheolju, a boy ruined by the notorious Choi Jin-woo. Against a backdrop of purple haze, a brutal legend of survival of the fittest unfolds. As cigarette butts fill the cup, they coldly judge the fallen while ignoring their own violence. The hypocrisy of their double standards makes the air feel even heavier. Suddenly, the target shifts to the sober Suwon. "Why aren't you drinking?" The sneering question hits him like a spotlight, instantly drenching his forehead in cold sweat. It gets worse. Hee-jun maliciously digs up the old porn comic rumor, stripping away Suwon's dignity. The shame makes him want to vanish into the floor. Mockery echoes around the room as they twist his heroic rescue at the amusement park into a joke. His brave deeds are reduced to mere fodder for their amusement. In the dim kitchen corner, Hee-jun presses closer, his playful eyes probing deep. Is that comic based on real life? Every word chips away at Suwon's defenses. To hide his panic, Suwon clumsily denies it. Through this awkward probing, a subtle, ironic bond between men begins to form. The mood shifts unexpectedly. Hee-jun validates his talent. Even the boss liked it. This sudden approval strikes Suwon's desperate need for recognition. Seizing the moment, Hee-jun leans in, his voice dripping with temptation. Just one sip. It's not addictive like smokes. An invitation to corruption. His rational protests are drowned out by jeers. Don't act like a saint. Even the girl joins in with a spectator's gaze, leaving Suwon completely isolated. Heart pounding, his parents' warnings echo, but before him are pairs of red eyes staring from the dark. The terror of rejection outweighs his moral compass. If I don't drink, I'm an outcast. Desperation takes over. Trembling, Suwon whispers a silent apology to his mother as his resolve finally crumbles. The liquid swirls in the cup, completing the ritual. He accepts the drink, and with it, the heavy guilt, bidding farewell to his innocent past self. His phone vibrates violently, a desperate call from an old friend, but the drunken Suwon ignores it. Amidst his companion's laughter, he loses his way. The messy aftermath greets his splitting headache. Waking from a stupor among passed-out bodies, reality begins to reconstruct itself through the dizziness. Only he and Hee-jun are awake. Fueled by lingering drunkenness, Hee-jun leans in with the burning question, "Be honest, do you really not like Hiram?" "I don't like her," Suwon shouts in frustration. Seeing Hee-jun's relieved smile, they reach a bizarre truce amidst this absurd misunderstanding. The tension dissolves as Hee-jun shyly confesses the truth. The girl he likes is Seol Hiram, not Hiram at all. This sudden confession creates an instant bond between the two heartbroken boys, evoking memories of pathetic nights spent screaming love songs at karaoke. Those moments of screaming into microphones were both release and escape, but reality cuts through as a phone rings unanswered, signaling trouble ahead. Right now, alcohol blurs the passage of time. The buzzing phone on the floor is buried beneath a haze of hangover, as they remain oblivious to the countdown hitting 0. Just moments ago, when the name differing by only one syllable was confirmed, Suwon was thunderstruck, realizing their entire standoff was based on a ridiculous misunderstanding. Flashbacks to the bathroom confrontation reveal Suwon interrogating Hee-jun like a criminal, driving the terrified boy to a desperate, defensive outburst. His sneaking around seems ridiculous now. The secrecy wasn't about stealing love, but hiding a romance. Suwon shamefully realizes he was the paranoid fool all along. Amidst the smoke, Hee-jun exhales deeply. Knowing Suwon isn't a romantic rival lifts the weight from his chest, melting away the barrier between them. The mood lightens into banter, until Hee-jun's exaggerated reaction to a sensitive detail scares the living daylights out of Suwon, turning serious talk into teasing. Under Suwon's sharp questioning, Hee-jun drops the act. Though being called creepy stings, he blushes and admits he orchestrated encounters just to be near his crush. The once timid boy acted tough and threatened to drop out just to impress a girl, and his sudden invitation to Suwon today hints at a desperate need to prove himself. There might be calculation behind the friendship, but Suwon doesn't care right now. The conversation shifts to that intimidating name, met with surprising indifference by the others. Hee-jun suddenly straightens up, eyes gleaming with unprecedented resolve. I won't hide it anymore. His sudden declaration freezes the air in the room. Despite his friend's mockery, Hee-jun stands his ground. Watching this courage to confess in the face of ridicule, Suwon feels a bitter pang of envy. He wishes he had that same bravery. Just as jealousy takes root, a terrifying realization strikes. He completely forgot his prior plans. Suwon grabs his bag and bolts, leaving a room full of bewildered stares. Fueled by liquid courage, Suwon gives his new friends an awkward, enthusiastic hug. He leaves for his appointment, unaware that stepping out of that warm room means walking into a freezing nightmare. The night breeze sobers him up, only for the screen to light up with a death warrant of missed calls and furious texts. Inseep isn't just mad, he's livid. The churning in his stomach mixes with sheer panic, forcing him to lean against a wall and retch violently. Physically and mentally broken, he looks utterly wretched. He drags his heavy legs into a sprint, self-pity swirling in his mind, until the glass door of the billiard hall looms before him like a gaping maw waiting to swallow him whole. The billiard hall is brightly lit, the sharp clack of balls punctuated by Ono's cold mockery. As Suwon enters, the gazes turning toward him feel more biting than the winter wind outside. Suwon rushes in, breathless and sweating, only to crash into the freezing wall of his friend's silent, turned backs. The silence shatters into sharp mockery. They ridicule his tight uniform, each jeer piercing through Suwon's fragile dignity. Suddenly, a shadow looms close. Sniffing the air, an icy interrogation stops Suwon's heart cold. That smell. Do you smoke? Before he can explain, the stench of alcohol betrays him. Cornered and exposed, Suwon bows his head in shame as a chilling laugh echoes. Laughter escalates into violence. A heavy punch lands, accompanied by venomous words meant to crush his resolve. Stay in your lane, you clown. Inseep pins him down with a dark stare, suffocating any resistance. Stop acting tough. Just go back to being the loser you really are. All resistance crumbles. Gripped by the collar and stripped of pride, Suwon sinks into silence, overwhelmed by the sheer disaster of this day.